In this next part, what we're going to deal with is event propagation. Now, propagation is what's making it so that when I click on the button, both events are still happening. In order to show the event propagation, what we need to do is duplicate our existing button click so that we have a second one, because what we really want is for this particular button to actually have two events. So I'm going to duplicate that event and change the numbers to 2. So this will be function button click 2, and this will be box click 2, and that will be button click 2. Now, of course, that could say button. It doesn't really matter. I never really thought about the fact that it says box, so that will work as well. So we have button click 1, and that will run button click 1 when we click on the test button. And then we have button click 2, that will trace button click 2 when we click on the test button. So notice there are 2 events on the button and 1 event on the stage. Let's test our movie with Control Enter, and let's see what the output is. Now you'll notice when I click on this button, we're getting both the button click and the button click 2 and the stage click to happen. So what we want to do is look at these things called event stop propagation and event stop immediate propagation. The first one, event dot stop propagation, I do want to point out that it says event. So if I look at my code, you'll notice that the event is what's passed to the function. So this code has to go inside the function. So what I'm going to do is add event stop propagation inside the first function for button click. Now what event.stop propagation does is it stops the propagation of the click so that it will not bubble anymore past the object that's being clicked on. Now stop propagation stops the action at the object itself. In this case, what will happen is, since we're stopping at the object and we have 2 pieces of code that are both attached or added to that object, both of those codes will run, but the one that's added to the stage will not happen because we will stop the event from bubbling down to the stage. So that's the stopping of the propagation. So let's do Control Enter, and you'll see when I click on Test button, I should get both the button click and the button click 2, but not the stage event. So if I disable that, test it out again, you'll see we get all 3. And then if I enable the stop propagation, then I will just get the 2. So the last one, stop immediate propagation, is a little bit different because what this does is it stops it at the first event. So I'm going to copy that code, go back to my Flash, go to the Actionscript, and this time I'm going to add that underneath the first event, and I'm going to go ahead and disable that first one. That way I have just event.stop immediate propagation. Now what this will do is it will make it so that we only have the first button click run and not the second one, because we're stopping it at the very first event that we encounter for that object. So let's test this real quick, and you'll see that now when I click on it, I only get the first button click. I don't get the button click 2. So that's what propagation is, and event capturing and bubbling. What you want to be most aware of is that if you're having problems with Actionscript and it's running multiple events, you typically want to possibly look into stopping the propagation so you don't get that kind of problem. Now, there are other things that we have to be concerned with when it comes to buttons, and I do want to point one of those things out, is that often we will be using movie clip buttons, and we'll have to learn some other pieces of code, but we'll discover that when we look at movie clip buttons. I do want to mention why this event bubbling and capturing can be really, really amazing. One of the things that we can do is we can do conditional, let's say conditional based events, where if we click on a button, we can actually run a condition based upon the name. So this is the last thing that I want you to do. I'm going to add something to my stage click, and this is going to say if event.target.name, and that means the name of the target that the event comes from if that equals my test underscore btn, then I need to put the right syntax here. So I need to have the end of my quotation mark, and then I have to have an opening curly bracket and an ending curly bracket. And if the event.target.name equals test underscore button, trace you clicked on the right button. Now, watch what happens when you test your movie. Uh-oh, let's see. I might have something. Oh, yes, I have to have not a single equals, but a double equals, because that is the operator for checking to see if the two are right. A single operator will tell me to set something equal to the other. So anyway, if event.target.name double equals test underscore btn, trace you clicked on the right button. So watch what happens. I click, get my stage click here, click on the button, and oh, I have event.propagation stopped, so I'm going to have to turn that off. And look what happens. I get all the functions to run, as well as that you clicked on the right button. So the cool thing about this is it doesn't really matter where that button is, and I want to demonstrate this with one more thing. I'm going to make a copy of this button. This is the test button. And I'm going to create a background behind it. So I might want to go ahead and put that behind with maybe make it a different color. And I'm going to change this to test2 underscore btn. And I'm going to nest the two of these inside of a movie clip. So right click and choose convert to symbol and put them inside of a movie clip. It really doesn't matter what the name is. So I'm going to click OK. I should probably say nested symbol or something like that. But you'll notice that I have test2 underscore btn inside this movie clip, and I don't really even care what the instance name of that movie clip is, because I'm going to go back to my actions here, and I'm going to change this so it says if event.target.name equals test2 underscore btn, I can say you clicked on the, well, we could say test2 underscore btn button, but I can just keep the same name. So it doesn't really matter where in the display stack this particular button with the instance name I'm referring to is. All it matters is that that's the name of the button that I click on. So I'm going to do Control Enter and test this out. When I click on the first one, it's running my button click and button click 2 and stage click, and we have turned off the event propagation. Now I can click on the other button, and you'll see it's running my bubbling event for the stage click, and it's running the conditional one, which says you clicked on the right button. So it doesn't even really matter where that button is. If it has an instance name that is exact, then I can use a conditional statement that targets that instance name and runs any command that I want using basically a generic stage click that is a bubbling event. And that's really quite amazing, because you can have basically one event listener for your entire movie that keeps track of all your button names and runs anything that you want. And hopefully you can see the power of that, and it's something that's new to Actionscript 3, and it's one of the great new features of event propagation, bubbling, and capturing. And so that's the end of this tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions. Save your work, and it doesn't really matter what it looks like, but it does matter that you have pretty much the same exact elements that I have here. And that's it.